let's start some boxing. What do you think? I'm going to the top of my notes here for you. We have a box. This is pretty amazing. This is made out of 100% cardboard. It comes from trees. I've been trying to make cardboard out of kale because I like trees and I don't like kale, so that we could kill the kale. And that seemed like it would be like the right thing to do.
Way to use it.
I love that.
Dave's vendetta on kale.
We're going to get even with kale. That's how it's going to be. All right. Let's talk about what we're going to put in the box, though. This first thing is it's pretty cool. You should, and if you can mute yourself, that would be cool. This is the Waff Mini. What the heck is a Waff Mini, you might ask, but watch this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to inflate it. Ready? And then it magically, do you guys see that? I'm like a magician here. All right. So what is this thing? Like, why would I send you this? Any suggestions from the chat window here? What do you guys think this is? I don't even know if I want to know what you think it is. A float pillow. It is not just a pillow. It's actually a balance training tool. So what you do, and you've probably heard me talk about wobble boards a few times for training your nervous system. And this is something that pro athletes use a lot. So you stand on a wobble board and it wobbles. This has a patent pending center core, so it doesn't wobble too much. So you can stand on it or sit on it, and it actually requires you to be reactive and to move around. So it creates neuroplasticity. If you do any kind of standing exercise, you stand on this and it works better. And it causes stability in your foot and in your ankles, your knees, your spine. Even if you're just at a standing desk, you stand on it and it engages the stabilizing muscles so your core gets better. You get a lot of sensor awareness of the world around you. You can also sit on it and it'll support, they claim up to 250 pounds, but it probably supports more than that because right now with all this muscle, I'm around probably 225, 230. And if I jump up and down, it doesn't break. So it's really strong. And it's phthalate free because I wouldn't send you something with nasty synthetic estrogen stuff in it. It deflates. But the cool thing is they have a medium and a max size as well. And the max size replicates, believe it or not, a lot of what you'd experience in a float tank. You guys want me to show that now? All right. Is this camera going to get it? So this is a giant thing. You just tip it down if you want. This is a giant one behind me, the very large one. And what you do is you just get on it and you lay down. And if you use anything like brain tap, any kind of eyes closed meditation, it's like a float tank. And you feel floaty. And that's the same feeling that you actually had when you were in the womb. And so it triggers very primordial relaxation responses in your parasympathetic system. And it's different than you would expect. I can just tell you that it works. And it's not terribly expensive. Of course, you get a discount because you're in the box. But I sent you the small one just to stand on and do those exercises. Even your one-legged stands, you're just standing up and touching your toes. You'll be doing this all the time. It's pretty cool. So you got yourself a Waff that's worth $40, which is really cool. And if you don't have a float tank, you might not want to get one because I had a float tank here for a long time. Problem with the float tank is it ruins your hair to do floating in all of that salt water, and it's just a huge amount of maintenance. So I actually took out my float tank because I just didn't find the ROI to be there, even though it's really cool to float. To do it regularly was too challenging given all the amount of work it took. So there's your first item. It's going to hack your nervous system, and it really works. Any standing exercise, doesn't matter what it is, do it standing on that, and you're going to get benefits. And if you stand for a while at your desk, it's awesome, especially if you don't walk as much as you probably should. This second one, I'd work really hard to get this for you because it's worth $105. This would pay for the box and then some in and of itself. And it is the latest and greatest probiotic. Akkermansia from Pendulum. And I've done a whole podcast on this stuff. And this is one of those species that's hard to get in a probiotic. It just came out on the market. And it's about immune system, metabolism, and inflammation response. If you look at the interview, it's with Dr. Colleen Cutliff. It's actually twice. And Akkermansia is what they call a keystone bacteria. and it regulates the mucus lining of your gut. So if you have good mucus in your gut, then you don't get leaky gut. There are about 1,000 research publications on this, and Pendulum patented the strain. They're the only place you can get it. And they also make a glucose control probiotic that I also take that helps you to manage type 2 diabetes. You get 20% off your first purchase, but getting Akkermansia is really, really important, especially if you are experimenting with a carnivore diet. And as you know from reading the Bulletproof Diet, possibly, I think long-term carnivore is bad for almost everyone, and Akkermansia is one of the reasons. So I would say you should supplement that. Catherine, thanks for the comment. This is the good stuff. Akkermansia is just a great value for you guys in the box, and it's something that I do take on a regular basis. So this is the only place you could possibly get Akkermansia is from Pendulum. It's really good stuff. And I also, like I said, I also take the blood control formula that they have, or blood glucose control formula. And I think that's also just groundbreaking. It's important that you populate yourself with the right species. Akkermansia is missing from a lot of people, even though it's a keystone species. And if you take some prebiotics, it's going to stick around even more. You don't have to take it every day, even though when you're first getting going, I think it's a good idea to take it every day. But after you've taken it for a few months, if you said, I'm going to back off a little bit and take one every other day, or I just took it 5 days a week, that's kind of what I do. I do my best to take it every day, but if I miss a day, I don't worry about it. So what I want you to do with this bottle is take it every day for the first month. And then after that, when you use your discount to get the next bottle, take that every day if you're getting the benefits. And if you want to try experimenting with skipping on a weekend or something, it's probably not the end of the world. So use it intelligently. And it's one of the most studied things. And what's happening now in the world of probiotics is some of the things that work that you could never buy, you can finally buy. So there's all this innovation happening, and Pendulum's right at the beginning of that. So I was pretty excited to get this for you. It took us about 3 months of figuring out how to get it at the right price for you guys in the box. Next thing that is another super good value here is worth $50. So are you feeling like we delivered value this time? I hope so, because we already are at 40 and then we're at 105. And here we got $49 retail value. This is Ameo Life Structured Silver Solution. And they take structured water. And guys, structured water is a thing. And there's also complete like mystical fairy water, which may or may not be a thing. This is actually real structured water. So it's one of those marketing terms that could be used. And silver is an antimicrobial. It's got a long history of use against bad microbes and against mold. And what you'll find is that silver specifically targets bad bacteria and has less of an effect on good bacteria. So it basically changes the ratio of bad to good. And one of the first uses of silver was people would take a silver dollar and drop it into their milk jug so their milk wouldn't go bad as quickly. But it said as quickly. So then it would end up fermenting and making buttermilk instead of going into some sort of bad thing. Jonathan, the wobble cushion is called the Waff. And I'm just answering some questions that come through here. And silver naturally complements what your immune system does. And there's some new studies that show that it replicates the antimicrobial effects of blue light without all the circadian disruption. So blue light, it turns out, they can use it even in hospitals to kill bacteria. So you're getting some similar effects there. They have documented that it's safe to take every day, third-party lab tested, and the silver doesn't fall out of suspension in this formula, which is really cool. And there's a bunch of other stuff, including a gel that I really like from Ameo Life. There's a mouthwash, and you get 20% off everything because you're a subscriber to the box. So there you go, pH balanced alkaline silver solution. And take that if you have weird gut stuff or you just want to enhance immune function. And I may or may not have, without their permission, put this stuff in my nasal spray as well, because it seemed like a really good place to get silver. So I can't say that Ameo Life told me to do that, but I have done that, and I think it's a good idea. Doug says I have permission. There you go. So if you have something like a clear nasal spray, you can put some silver in it. And you can also even put some iodine in it. And gee, I wonder what would happen if you got rid of the vast majority of bacteria and other stuff that would want to grow in your nose. I think that's a really good deal. No permission needed to live with danger. I love it, Deborah. And that was a subtle reference to Danger Coffee, which launched this week. In fact, it launched so that I couldn't put it in the box for you because we didn't have it ready in time to get it out the door. Now,
fun fact, Doug from Ameo Life is on here and he says you do have permission.
All right, so I was guessing that was that Doug, but it just says Doug. So guys, Ameo Life officially gave me permission to say that I snort my Ameo Life silver solution. I put it on a mirror with lines. Oh, it's a liquid. I don't do that. But I just put it in a little mister bottle, and it's a good move. I would say if you're going to do that, and Doug may have a comment on here, yeah, you can put it in the clear, or if you just want to put it in a bottle that had clear in it, a little pinch of salt is a good idea. Because you don't want to put just plain water in your sinuses. It isn't plain water, it's pH balanced with silver, but it's water that isn't osmotic. I don't believe Doug will tell us that. So I always put a little pinch of that stuff. So we've got right now the Waff cushion. We've got the Akkermansia from Pendulum Life. We've got the Ameo Life Silver. I'm feeling like this is kind of Christmas already, but how about we get you a vitamin D test from my partners at Knowing Labs? I'm an advisor and equity shareholder here, and these guys are doing the back of the lab testing for the Upgrade Labs, the thing that I'm working on. And Mike says, buy 500, get 250 free. Yes, Mike, you're definitely my kind of guy. Deborah says, does the vitamin D test come with a passport? I'm killing myself right now because I didn't think to put a sticker for a vitamin D passport in here. I should have. But what this is a self-serve lab test. So you go and you register the test, and now you know your vitamin D levels. Why? Because even if you're taking vitamin D, if you've never tested, you don't know what your vitamin D supplements are doing. Me, I need 15,000 to 20,000 IUs a day because I have high vitamin D clearance genetically and I have poor vitamin D receptors genetically. You may have the opposite. For you, 5,000 might be a little bit too much, right? So it's a very high variance in response to what you take. So what you want to do is just get the test. So I thought it was really important. I care about you guys. I want you to live a long time. I am not particularly worried about the latest fancy media thing, which actually, never mind, it isn't. The latest fancy media thing is now an invasion. So we can forget about all the other stuff that they've been twisting us up about over the last couple of years. But I do think for all infection and other inflammatory things, having your levels around between 70 and 90 is a really good idea. And I keep mine. The last test I had was like 80. So it was right where I want it to be. And if yours is not there, seriously, take more vitamin D. It's cheap. You need to do it. And don't forget to take K2 with it as well. And 75% of people are deficient. And Subgrade Labs is the name of the lab company that's part of Upgrade Labs. So Knowing Labs is our lab partner. I know the founder. It is also unusual because when you go to a major lab testing company, they take your blood and they send it to a network of labs all over the country. Labs aren't all the same. So you can send the same sample to two labs and get two different numbers. This is always the same lab, very high quality, and you get consistent answers there more than you're going to get from a distributed network of like kind of, what do I call it, big lab. This is a boutique lab. And it also saves you guys money. So if you go to freevitamindtest.com, you can register your test and get instructions on redeeming it. As you can tell, it's not free yet. I'm working on getting the price down for that. And finally, there's a company that I've been working with for a while. And I have for 20 years now tried getting keto bread that doesn't just suck. I've cooked a bunch of recipes. What you end up getting is like an omelet, pretty much, if you want to avoid carbs. And it's never worked. So what I got for you guys is some superfood chips from Uprising. I am an investor and advisor in Uprising. And you'll find that these things taste really, really good. And they've got 15 grams of fat. And they're almond-based with a lot of psyllium husk. Now, psyllium husk is something that I have actually been relatively, we'll say, neutral to slightly negative on, because when you buy those bags of psyllium husk that you might have taken in the 90s because they're supposed to be good for your stool, they actually scrub the sides of your intestines in a way that isn't beneficial. I turned my belief around when I talked to the researchers at Uprising. What I found there is that when it's micronized, when it's ground exceptionally finely, that problem goes away. But they're seeing really, really powerful improvements in people's gut bacteria and intestinal health from it. So you're getting some really, really beneficial changes in your gut biome by eating these crackers that taste good. And order the bread. It comes in little cubes. You can slice it really thinly. If you tolerate sheep's milk cheese the way I do, sheep's milk would be the best. You can actually do a grilled cheese again, and it's still keto, and it tastes good. And I mean, my daughter had one of those for breakfast the other day. They call it cube bread, even though that's not the name. It's from Uprising. So I wanted you guys to try the crackers. And then I wanted you to know that the bread's available, because it's pretty nice to be able to have something that's keto that tastes good. There's about 9 grams of psyllium husk in here. And I would have called psyllium a coarse fiber, but with the way they're processing it here, it becomes a prebiotic fiber. And there are studies showing better digestion, less appetite, and more stable blood sugar. And it tastes like sourdough. They call them sourdough bread cubes. So I think this is a really neat new product, and it's the best tasting, and it's got a clean label of ingredients, no bad fats, no bad proteins, none of that stuff. So that seems like just absolutely worth your time to try it. Tina, it's worth ordering the bread. I was so skeptical. I've tried 5,000 keto bread kind of things, and frankly, they all suck. This one actually tastes good. My kids intentionally eat it, which is a big bar. Now, there's something else. You guys may know about Homebiotic, my mold company. Toxic mold made me really, really sick a while ago. And it's taken me, a while to heal from it. It creates all sorts of metabolic disruption. And one of the things that you want to do is protect your home from it. So we make a probiotic you spray around your house. And many of you have received that in the box in the past. But there's a problem with the cleaners that we use as well. So Homebiotic is expanding its product line, because a lot of the cleaners that people use reflexively, and they overuse right now, because somehow, even though we have an airborne virus, cleaning things reflexively is going to make you safer from an airborne virus. Don't ask about the science there, because there isn't any, but that's what we're doing now. So how do we fix the problem with cleaners? Because excessive cleaners are environmentally destructive. They're bad for your pets. They're bad for your own environment. So we came out with non-toxic cleaners that support your home's microbiome. Because yes, your house has a microbiome, your skin has a microbiome, your hair has it, your eyebrows have a microbiome. It's normal. It's just part of the world. And your home should not be sterile, because that sets up a breeding ground for toxic mold. What you want is a normal microbiome in your home. So you could say, what about your common kitchen sponge? 362 types of bacteria. And what I'm sending you guys is our new Nano sponges. These have a nano foam layer for cleaning and a coarse side for scrubbing, BPA-free melamine, and it actually binds to bacteria. And bacteria won't grow on it. They'll grow on stuff that's left in it. But these things are ridiculously effective. And yes, I'm talking about a sponge here, but if there's something you do every day, and this doesn't grow the 362 kinds of bacteria, it works just exceptionally well. And it cleans stuff that it has no business cleaning. And you pair it with the other stuff I'm sending you, surface cleaner concentrate. So there's no sulfates, which most companies use to make bubbles. It's got citric acid and washing soda. This is a very traditional cleaning formula that works fine. Citric acid gets rid of mold, grime, mildew. And here's how it works. Send you guys 6 packets. Each of these is a bottle of cleanser. It's all paper-based. You get to recycle this or burn it in your fireplace. There is no plastic here whatsoever. You put it in a spray bottle at home, add water, add a pellet. You can see how this is actually massively beneficial for the environment in your home, and getting it to you, it uses less petroleum. This is how we ought to be cleaning. And 6 of these is 6 bottles of cleanser. And the sponges and the surface cleaner have a value of $20 at retail. Yes, 6 bottles of cleanser. And how many sponges did I put in here? 6 or 4? Yeah, this is a 6-pack. So I gave you 6 sponges and 6 bottles of cleanser, which I'm only charging $20 for, because I got the cost down on these. This is just better than the way we do it today. And I really believe in this. It's shocking when you wipe something with this compared to a normal sponge, just nothing is left. And this is what I'm cleaning my home with now. And then I spray it with Homebiotic cleanser. So this is something that, as Homebiotic becomes more successful, is going to move huge amounts of plastic out of landfills and out of the ocean, out of sea turtles, and things like that. I see Nancy's comment here. Upgrade Collective and the box are first groups where you feel like you actually belong. You're welcome. And what's going on here is I want to upgrade ourselves and upgrade the world. And that's something that is just really important to me. So there you go. And you get a 25% off code for Homebiotic. And I'm going to talk about something else that I got you guys a discount on, but it's not in the box. It's this thing called a camera ready light bar. So I'm holding it up right now. You guys can see that. It's probably blowing out the camera a little bit. It's pretty cool because you can adjust the brightness up and down. It's warm light. And if you're going to be either traveling or you're doing Zoom during the day, I use these a lot. And it makes a huge difference. And it doesn't blind you the way most of those ring lights do that make you feel like crap after you use them. So what you can do is you get 25% off using code BOX25 on camerareadylighting.com. It's kind of ridiculous how thin the thing is. I actually take these when I travel. I carry them with me when I'm doing mobile podcasts. So if you're looking for any kind of lighting, I didn't send those out and I didn't want to use your budget for the box on these because I don't think everyone needs one of those. But if you're doing this sort of work online that I do, or you just need to look good for work, use code BOX25 to save 25%. And I think it's a valuable thing just to mention. And I always get a discount for that kind of stuff for you. Ready for some golden tickets? What do you think? Oh, Doug says use silver with the sponges. That's actually a really good idea, Doug. You put a little bit of silver on there afterwards to sterilize, or even just to wipe things down with silver. That's killer. All right, let's go for our golden tickets. Now, the way golden tickets work is we send out some of the boxes that's randomly distributed in the box, and we reach out to you and let you know. Now, we reach out with a random number generator? Is that what we're doing on this one?
That's what we do with every box.
It's a random one. Okay, cool. For in the very early boxes, we'd actually put a golden ticket in there, but random numbers are much more fair. So, Joanne says my skin looks amazing because I'm using the sponge on my face. I wish that was why. It's because of Instagram filters. I'm actually looking wretched right now. I'm kidding. There's no filter on here that I'm aware of. So first up, our golden ticket is actually, what's our value on this golden ticket? I don't have it in my notes. It is called the Fehn chair, along with an adjustable height standing desk package. That is because, well, sitting is the new kale. So sitting in one position all day is bad for you. Guess what else is bad for you? Are you ready? Standing in one position all day as well. And that's why you both got the Waff thing to stand on. But we also got an adjustable height desk because you don't want to be standing all day. Studies finally showed that people who stand all day actually just eat more. And that probably isn't good for you, especially if your functional movement isn't great, like mine isn't great. I'm still working on fixing my feet. This one's worth more than $2,000. And let's see, where is it? It's back here. Oh, that is magically making. Look at that. It's like it comes with a magic ability to move. There. Thank you, Bev. And you guys can tell I'm filming downstairs because I'm doing renovations upstairs. All right. And here is what it's like. This thing moves. So when you're standing, you put your feet on this thing and you're kind of standing, but your body's in motion. So this is all of the stuff that you'd want to do, but you're not fully standing. So some weight is on your butt, but you're not completely there. So it's going to half sitting, half standing, and it adjusts so you can sit down when you need to sit down, and it can fold out of the way. And with a adjustable height desk, now you're like, I'm comfortable, or I want to stand after lunch. I want to be able to move. And so you can be a little bit more animated, and it's just comfortable. So not sitting, not standing, something different. And it's very cool. So if you're looking to be really, really comfortable all day, it's incredible. When you first use it, you actually can be a little sore, like in your low back for the first maybe 3-4 days. Not sore in a bad way, but just like I've been moving. So iPhone 12 mini says that they should win, but their name's not on there. So the name of the light is Camera Ready Lighting. Maybe the team can put a link in here, and the code was Box25. All right. What's going on? Connect device. What are we?
For the Vitruvian.
Oh, are you doing it now? All right. So there you go. So that's, and by the way, if you like that, you save $150 on the chair because you're a subscriber to the box if you want to get a Fehn chair and or the desk. And next up, we're giving away 3 of these things called the Vitruvian V-Form Trainer. Now, you've probably heard that home fitness is a thing now, just like working from home. And this is pretty close to the power of an Upgrade Labs cheat machine. And if you've ever been to Upgrade Labs, a cheat machine is a very expensive clinical grade piece of gear that stresses your muscles in a very specific way. The Vitruvian has 2 small motors tied to retractable cables, up to 400 pounds of resistance. It's facilitated by AI that reacts to your performance, 200 different exercises, and it pairs with an app on your smartphone. So you can just customize your workout. You just plug it in and go. It's not, you have to bolt it to anything like that. And you can even compete with others on a leaderboard. And you get $500 off if as a subscriber to this. And we're giving away 3 of these as golden tickets. And team, what is the code box25 is not working on camera ready lighting? What the hell?
We'll get it working right away.
That's crazy. Camera ready lighting people, they must not be on here. All right, we're fixing it right now. Thank you for letting me know, Roy. Can we send Roy like an extra?
Yes,
how about a Choose Danger T-shirt, Roy? We're gonna hook you up. Thank you for letting me know. Catherine used the cheat machine. Roy says, "Sweet." So, team, can you make sure we do that? And what the Vitruvian does is ridiculous because you don't have any weights in your house at all. It just moves against you. So, where's this thing? Can you have me do like a curl or something?
Yep, it's all set.
So is it? Yes. What?
Sure.
There you go. All right, cool. So you have it set on weakness, don't you?
We have it set on Dave mode.
Like this isn't actually hard enough.
It's coming.
Maybe the algorithm. There we go. Now the algorithm's catching up. Come on, you set it on like girly mode. Ready? There we go. It's getting harder.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing here is the equivalent of dumbbells, or actually a barbell, but it gets heavier and heavier as you go. And it's pulling in a way that's different than the way gravity pulls, which communicates to your muscles differently. Do you see how if I get wobbly, each side pulls? And I'm not going to do a full workout because you guys don't need to see that. But if you're interested in putting on muscle at home, it is one of the most effective and comprehensive things you could do. And with a bench, you can do bench presses and everything else. And it's very different than going against gravity, for instance, because gravity always accelerates at the same amount. And then your muscles turn off to make sure you won't get injured. They won't turn off when you do this kind of training. So you really, really feel it. And it's just faster. So there you go. If you look at the Vitruvian website, it's in the booklet as the offer as a subscriber. And this is something to consider adding to your home gym, but 3 people won. Do we have their names or no? No, I can't call their names out because we do the random number thing. So the code, Kim, is in your thing that comes with the thing. And Vitruvian, Vitruvian.
Yeah.
So
It'll be posted.
Yeah, the code is in there. It'll be in your email for it as well. And of course, there's a booklet describing everything I just told you. The code is Strong Dave because people are posting who've already gotten it. So there you go, Strong Dave. It could be Strong You too. I don't know why they chose that, but I guess now you know. So there you go, guys. You got about $220 worth of value. So I hope we delivered for you. You can tell there's a whole team supporting this effort. And I will just tell you, doing the boxes is not a high profit thing. It's not something that I do because it's, making me roll in stacks of cash. I do it because I like it. I think it's adding value to you guys. It's making things accessible that wouldn't otherwise be accessible. And I like it that it pays for the team and the warehouse. We just went from 6,000 to 16,000 feet. a warehouse space for all the different companies, mostly to accommodate the coffee. But I always, the team sort of loves and sort of hates the box, because all of a sudden the warehouse is full of all this stuff, and then we have to put it in all these boxes and send it out. So it's a labor of love from the whole team, and I hope you guys appreciate it. I appreciate you. I appreciate you telling others about the box, and I appreciate you thinking about giving a gift, or even just a single box to someone, because you don't know what you're going to get, but you know it's going to be cool, and it's going to be well worth it. And I hope this box met that bar for you, because it sure did for me. I think this is one of our best boxes ever, and thank you for attending. Now, I think we have time to answer some questions, right?
2 things. Doug from Ameo Life, Dulce's on from Knowing Labs.
Oh, I didn't. I can only see one screen worth. So a lot of the people who make these products are on the call. So if you type questions about the products or something, you'll be able to get answers from. I know Doug's here from Ameo Life, and who else is here from Uprising?
William and Kristen.
Oh, hey, William. Hey, Kristen. There you are. Uprising Food. You changed your name to Uprising Food. So they're there on the screen, and so they're the guys who made these. And let's see, where's Dulce? I don't see Dulce. She must be on another screen.
Hello, Dave. I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay. And Knowing Labs, CEO and founder. And do we have the Pendulum people on? You guys didn't tell me that we're going to have all the people on. And what about our Waff buddies?
I don't see Brady on.
Yeah,
All right.
Coop from Waff is on. We always invite all the partners to come on and answer questions in the chat.
Nice.
Available.
Jonathan says he's on the 4-cube subscription for the Uprising Foods, which is so cool. Jason says we love the box. Introduced to cutting edge tech. All right, I'm going to keep doing the box for you guys. I think this is just worth doing. Oh, there we go. Uprising will be shipping to Canada in 2 weeks. Maybe we should send you the coffee and you'll ship that to Canada for us, right? Just kidding. I'm working on it. Okay.
Perfect. Let's do some Q&A.
Let's do some Q&A. WFF got it, Jonathan. And you'll get one in the box. Akkermansia doesn't work like glutamine, as far as I understand, Deepika. Glutamine heals the gut by encouraging cell growth, but glutamine takes out ketosis. Akkermansia heals the mucus lining of the gut, not the actual walls of the gut. Any other questions? You can ask live. Devon has his hand up. Devon, what's up?
Oh, hey, Dave. So I have a question. This is something I wanted to ask for a long time. Like, if you're building a house from scratch, can you kind of walk me through like some of the considerations you make? So like flooring, insulation, lighting, that kind of stuff, to make the home, I guess, more healthy, EMFs, these kind of things. Like, I've heard some of this stuff through the podcast. I've listened to like 700 of them. I've heard them through most of the podcast, but not really more specifically. And you talked about doing renovations. So what kind of stuff would you be thinking about?
If I was doing a house from scratch, I would be looking at doing a poured concrete with styrofoam forms. And you can add stuff to it that actually blocks EMF. And those are literally bulletproof houses that just don't break, as in like they'll stop bullets. And they're earthquake resistant, hurricane resistant, and quite affordable to make. So I think there's something to be said for that. Otherwise, a lot of what you do is you look at what happens in the moisture barrier for the house, so you stop mold. And that's a matter of working with a really good builder who understands that. Most houses end up having moisture inside. If it's cold outside and hot and moist inside, you get condensation inside the walls. Every cold environment gets this in winter, and then you get a house full of mold. I think that's what gave my dad his heart attack many years ago. He was just fine, stayed in a house that had to be condemned because of toxic mold when he left, and then he had a heart attack a few months later. It'll drive calcification in the arteries. And then you need zero VOC, or at least low VOC everything. Flooring, tile, or hardwood, and there is safe engineered hardwood now for EMF mitigation. One group says do a Faraday cage by putting mesh inside the walls and grounding it out. Like the labs I'm in here, we have metal siding, metal roofing. It's all connected with wires, all grounded, but I don't do Faraday cages over the windows. Your cell phones work in here. Another group says that probably increases internal reflections, and maybe you should focus on just shielding your electrical cabling with metal conduit, which I would consider doing, as well as shielding the electrical inputs and the meters and all that. So that's far away from people, and putting a big chunk of metal between that and the house. That probably is a good idea.
Kim's iPad.
Kim. All right, Kim's iPad.
Can you, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I had my blood tested, and so I had a really good foundation. And it came back that I am not absorbing B12 and vitamin D at all. And I take 5,000 IUs of vitamin D a day. I was shocked.
So you're not
And I
absorbing
eat
the
a
vitamin
lot
D?
of red meat, grass-fed.
That's strange. There's no absorption there. So I would look at either liver issues or taking it with some fat-containing compound, like, I don't know, butter in your Danger coffee.
Every morning.
Every morning? Okay.
Coffee, yeah.
Take a digestive enzyme like lipase with it, and that'll help with fat absorption. That could be it. Yeah, it's quite unusual to not be able to absorb it. You might need to get more of it. You might need to go to 10,000. That's a pretty good guess.
Wow. Okay.
Like I said,
Yeah,
I was surprised I needed 20 for my body weight. If I was average, I would need 5. It just doesn't really work.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. It's possible there's a vitamin A issue there because vitamin A and D balance, but I don't think a lack of vitamin A would block your vitamin D intake. But you may need, there's water soluble A you can get, but there's not water soluble D. There are also some vitamin D topicals that might work if something's really bad digestively.
And I take liver capsules as well. So
Yeah.
a lot of the carnivore capsules, I take probably 7 of them, 7 different ones.
Check your uric acid levels as well. If you get too many organs, your uric acid can go up as well. I noticed a difference from that. But it's organ meat is important, but there's probably an upper limit to it as well. I don't know what it is, but you can measure with your uric acid. Hear the podcast with David Perlmutter. His book Drop Acid was really, really cool.
And Dr. Peter Attea also just did one on that as well.
Oh, did he? Very cool.
Yep.
Yep. I like Peter.
Thank you.
You got it. Any other biohacking questions you guys have? And if it's something that I can't answer, maybe one of our guests can. If a question about silver or something like that, Doug can take it, or about movement, guys from Waff. Preventing cavities from Josh. Josh, I would say there's a couple real important things. There's probiotics you can take. I've done podcasts on those that you put in your mouth before you go to sleep after you brush your teeth, and mouth taping and getting enough vitamin D and enough vitamin K2 ought to stop them for almost everyone. Oh, and sorry, I should also mention your toothpaste is probably jacked. If you look at the Primal Life tooth powder that I sent out to you in the box, if you're a longtime subscriber, that stuff is magic. That's what I use versus the normal stuff. So Primal Life Organics, you use their tooth powder. They also have one with a probiotic that's different from the other ones you can put in. But that kind of remineralization paste is a part of the equation along with the other stuff. All right. Would the red light therapy help reduce growth of nodules on a thyroid, says Joshua? Probably not. You can increase thyroid growth with red light. However, I don't know if it would reduce nodules. You need to find out why they're growing in the first place. Acyl sulfame potassium, which is a keto sweetener that's bad for you, is shown to cause nodules. It actually gave me nodules in the late 90s when it first came out. Jennifer, you had a question?
Okay, so I was exposed to mold 8 years ago and much better now with all of your help, which has been great. So thank you. Well, everything I've learned through your podcasts and books, and I am doing brain retraining with DNRS, and I'm now recently doing singing and humming and things, the Dr. Shaw stuff to help with the vagal nerve, and still reactivities, and they get stronger. And I'm wondering if you have some tips for help with that, like reactivities.
All right. So I'm going to answer this for you and for all of us on the call. There are a good number of people who've been exposed to mold and don't know it. They just are like, stuff doesn't work right. So this is a huge smoking gun for so many different problems out there. And you and I are relatively extreme examples of that, where you get highly reactive, it breaks your nervous system. And one of the most important things is rebuilding your cell membranes and getting your myelin lining rebuilt back. And that requires phosphatidylcholine. And you can get it as a liquid. You take it good. And you can even do it
liposomal type.
The liposomal is good. Chris Shade makes some really good stuff with Quicksilver. And what you'll find is that works. And ozone therapy seems to reduce reactivity in a lot of people. And a lot of people who've had mold exposure have very similar symptoms to people who react negatively from getting COVID or maybe getting certain types of injections that shall not be named. And the common, the world we live in, where I even have to say that, is so absurd. I can't even tell you, but good God, I live in Canada, so that's even worse. But what does that mean? It means your mast cells are involved, and your mast cells are the landmines of the immune system. So they're sitting there waiting for something possibly infectious, like a parasite or a bacteria, and it's like, oh, there you go, poof. And then they release all kinds of immediate swelling, retaining water, histamine, heparin, and about 100 other pro-inflammatory things that just destroy infectious things. Problem is, if they're getting set off all the time by something that's being generated in your body, or by an infection, Epstein-Barr, whatever, or by mold, then you end up having these little landmines that just randomly go off. And your nervous system's like, I'm kind of tired of this. And eventually it just gets overwhelming. And then more and more things set them off because the body's like, I don't know what it is. So sometimes calming that down is just a matter of taking antihistamine. So what that does, it takes the hair trigger that's on those landmines and it makes it so you have to at least step on it instead of just look at it for it to go off. And there's whole books written about mast cells and all. But the lowest hanging fruit, even for mold people, is Claritin. And then Pepsid AC, which is anti-stomach acid, but it's also antihistamine. And when you take that, you also have to replace the stomach acid by taking stomach acid tablets. But doing that for about 6 months can have a profound effect on cognitive stuff, on brain fog, on long COVID. And a lot of people, stuff isn't working. So you do 6 months of this stuff and you realize, oh, I was having an allergic response, even if it was non-specific. So that's a really important hack for anyone who's just like, something's not right. I did it actually after I got COVID the first time in February of 2020, back before it was cool. I've had this allergic cough for a while that's been really hard to hack, and it got way worse. And that was what dialed the symptoms back to, pretty much not a big deal. So this is one of those things that we all should be talking about. These are cheap, they're over the counter. And if you do that in combination with regrowing your nervous system and training your brain and all that, you can and will recover to a great degree, and you can be better than before. That's where I am. I mean, I've never worked as well as I do now. All right, I think we have time for one
that's great.
more
Okay,
question.
so I've done.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. One more, unless you're the last question. You may have your hand up. We could do a follow-on. Anyone else have a question here? Akkermansia will produce or will help produce IgA. I don't know if Akkermansia makes IgA. Looks like Devin may have another question. All right, you want to do it?
Hey, Dave.
Hey.
So I recently got my Viome test, and it's crazy. My microbiome says to remove like grass-fed beef and a lot of organ meats, and surprisingly of all the things, kale is one of my superfoods. Which is crazy because you've poo-pooed kale like at least I don't even know 35 times, 40 times on the podcast, like at least an hour worth of content about kale. And I've been feeling great so far with the Viome test, but that's still like, for me, it's just such a weird thing because, you get the oxalates and all these other things. And sometimes I get joint pain from, like, it's very subtle, but like in my knees, I get the joint pain. So I'm just like, why are some of these things my superfoods of all the things? I almost don't understand.
I go back and forth with the team. So a lot of the recommendations are AI driven, and some of them are functional medicine driven. Right. So for a while there, they would say, oh, if you have bacteria that eat cortisol, that means you probably have high cortisol. So then you should not have any coffee. But the reality is that if you did have adrenal dysfunction, and by the way, the link between having those bacteria and having adrenal dysfunction is not well proven. But if you had adrenal dysfunction, having low cortisol in the morning will ruin your life. So having a cup of coffee in the morning, which will raise your cortisol when you want it to go up, actually gives you your life back. And it's just fine to do as long as you're treating your adrenals at the same time. So there's nuances there. And I'm assuming that they showed you don't have an oxalate metabolism problem, and therefore they probably said you needed some kind of component of kale, so therefore kale would be good. They also told me to eat mung beans. I'm like, guys, lectins, but they're not detecting lectin sensitivity. So what you do is you say, all right, of the list from Viome, what are the foods that are compatible with me, right? And if they said, don't eat organ meats, I wish they would tell you why, but sometimes because it's AI, they can't tell you why.
But I don't know.
But what I do with my Viome results is I say, all right, there's some things that I know don't work for me, and mung beans is one of those. I'm not going to eat those because they said it's a superfood because they thought I needed some mineral or something. So I'm a huge fan of Viome. Just had Naveen on the show. It's an exceptional test with great value. They say the test of what it costs them to do it, and I've had so much value from mine, but I don't follow all their nutritional recommendations because I wouldn't feel good if I did.
Yeah, the supplements so far have been really great. I've been taking their supplements, their targeted precision supplements. They've been really, really good. They've definitely been helping my, I guess my mitochondrial health was just not as good as I thought it was. So that's definitely been helping.
Okay, that's cool. You're going to find there's a lot you can do, but you don't have to do everything in their nutritional recommendations, but you'll usually find you're probably eating too much of something and not enough of something else. A lot of people find out, oh, maybe I am eating too much garlic, the way Dave says.
Yeah, true. Garlic is also one of my superfoods.
Well, you might need a little bit more of it, but I wouldn't want a lot of it. And
yeah,
they don't take into account the whole
and the onions and so leeks are something to avoid, like zucchini something to avoid. I'm just like, oh my god, I've been eating all this stuff for like 8 months.
Well, you don't have to be orthorexic, right? But you can try what they say, and if it works, keep doing it. But the vast majority of people, you should be eating some grass-fed meat, but maybe you're eating too much. That's entirely possible.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Deepika, let's do one more question, and then we're gonna end the call.
Thanks, Dave. Great box. First time live. I'm joining you guys. Very cool. You talked about betaine HCl, hydrochloric acid, and use it simultaneously with H2 blockers at the same time.
Yep.
And people, I'm just wondering, because I obviously as a pharmacist also put a lot of people, doctors put them on for unlimited time, right? And then you find that these people have such a low stomach acid, then you're trying to use betaine with it, but they're reacting to betaine. So would you then sort of rebuild their stomach lining? And
how are they reacting to betaine? Getting a GERD from it?
They're getting burning when they take betaine.
So when someone's been on an acid blocker for a long period of time, their stomach acid is going to be suppressed. And there's a valve at the top of the stomach that closes in the presence of enough stomach acid. So what you do for those people is you say, take 1 tablet of betaine and you take it before or in the middle of a meal, not at the end, because if it floats on top of the stomach, it's going to irritate you. And then if they don't get heartburn from that, at the next meal, they have 2 tablets, and the next meal, have 3 tablets. You take as much as it takes to give you heartburn. You're titrating up to that level. And then once they know the number of capsules that gives them heartburn, then you back off by 1 capsule. And then you do that, and you can give them an antacid. I usually just say, take some baking soda. If you get burning, it's okay. And it's really neat because when you get enough, the valve will close and you stop getting GERD. So in my 20s, when I didn't know what I was doing, I would get GERD, and someone put me on Pepcid back then, and I took it for a couple of years, and it really helped with this incredible pain from heartburn. But then it introduced all these other problems. So for 2 years, I had to take 6 grams of betaine with a meal in order to get burning. That's a huge, like 6 big pills of betaine. And when I took that much, though, I didn't get heartburn anymore because it was restoring my stomach acid. I take like 1 pill sometimes now. I don't need much stomach acid because I make it myself. And so it's a matter of teaching the body to do it. But to get someone who's been on a long time, you have to titrate up. The reason they're getting heartburn is if you take too much of it, then you just take baking soda and it's going to be okay.
Okay, so that's the way to avoid it, to baking soda or.
Well, you titrate up, and if they get it, take baking soda and say next time take less, and then they work their way up. And generally, if let's say you titrate and you figure out 3 capsules of betaine is what doesn't give you heartburn, but 4 does, you take 3 for a while, and one day you're going to get heartburn from it and say, oh, that's interesting, and then you back off to 2. and then you back off to 1. So you've just taught yourself to do that. And people generally get awareness of that over time.
So it's got nothing to do with the lining that you need to rebuild the lining.
It's not about the lining. It's about closing the valve at the top of the stomach. If the heartburn isn't coming from the lining of the stomach, that would be a really big issue if it was.
Yeah.
Maybe if they had ulcers or something, but that's a different animal. Yeah, Jennifer here
Okay.
takes 9 capsules. The mold people need so much betaine. It's amazing.
Okay. Thank you. Well,
You're welcome. That was a really good question. I appreciate you being on as a pharmacist. All right, guys, we ran over by 6 minutes, but you got some good questions answered. You got $220 worth of value. And thank you for being a box subscriber. We're going to keep getting you good stuff, saving you some money, and having a good community. If you haven't had your Danger Coffee, you have 24 hours with a special code that not everyone got. And I forgot what it was, early access. And I will see you all in the next one of these or on the next Upgrade Collective call.
The camera ready code.
Thanks,
So the
Dave.
camera ready code now works. CameraReadyLighting.com. And what the code box 25, I'm going to put up here. CameraReadyLighting.com and box 25. I'm just typing that for you so you can copy that before we end the call. And I appreciate the guys who make the products came on the call, so giving you guys direct access to the creators, because this stuff matters. These are all small companies and they're making good stuff that's changing the world. So thanks for helping them. Thanks for helping yourselves. I'll see you all
Thank
very, very soon.
you.
Bye.
Bye.